Well, my fellow sheddies, bodgers, shadomaniacs, inventors, we're going to make this work today. Yeah, and as always, it's very easy to say. It's not very easy to always do. So we want this. We're not going to mount it there. We're going to have this as a hook. But behind the hook, we want to put this switch, don't we? We want to put this secret switch. Now, downwards doesn't work, so up means down and down means up, and that's how that's going to fit in there some way, somehow. We've got to figure that out, haven't we? And at the same time, we've got to find a way of remounting this 2 screws to the wall, fitted hook. Job done. What we're going to do, we're going to go super glue some screws in there, cut the backs off so they look like they're being used, but they're not. We want this to hook onto something. We've got room behind it and inside it to do something. We've got space there. Quite a lot of space there actually. And what I was thinking of, maybe sort of mounting it like a 5th wheel. So if we drill a hole here, right, drill a hole there, and then make this slot into it, put a slot in there, put like a V groove into it, so this ends up there. It's gonna be odd, it's gonna be sticking out. We'll have to deal with it when we get there, but basically that's all, and that will hang, and hopefully it won't twist, because you know it's very top heavy, isn't it? We want it to hang naturally like there. So the next thing, so that's a given. That's what we're working with, right? Okay, because usually we make it up as we go along. We got a problem, we create a solution with what we've got. So we're restricted by this, the cow. Okay, so the next thing we're sort of restricted with is this switch. I do love these switches that are made by Arrow, made in England, Bakelite, quite vintage, but they've got a lovely, lovely, lovely click, haven't they? But we're going to have to hide this switch behind here somehow. There's not a lot of space there. I was thinking about a board. Hold on a minute, let me get the wood. So I was thinking of a piece of wood. Yeah, that on there, and then the switch would go through there, look. But not quite. Not quite. You've really got to use thin material. Ooh, and that's not going to work. And then how are you going to mount this? Okay, you're gonna, because when you make a secret switch, you've got to hide the switch and the wiring. So we're going to hide that behind something and just have that bit sticking out. So let's try something else. Use a piece of steel, couldn't we? We could put that on there, piece of steel, put a bolt through there, and then put a hole for the switch in here, which in theory is the way to go if we were putting it in a cupboard or something like that. But then you've got to make sure the switch doesn't get seen behind, and then the wiring doesn't get seen behind neither. So let's have a look at what we did previously. This switch, a little secret switch that we did previously, and that's quite easy. We've got the switch working, right, fine, and then we've hidden the back of it behind here. Look, there's the back of the switch hidden behind here because it's on this thing, and then we've hidden the wiring, and the wiring disappears. So that's our goal. We want to cover the switch and hide the switch, and then hide the wiring to the switch. Let's show you one more example. There is a switch. It's not the same switch, but here's a switch under here. Look, there's a little on-off switch under there. So we've hid the switch, and we've hid the wire, so you can't see the switch we've hit the switch. The switch is moving. You can't see the mechanism of the switch. The wiring comes up and goes through here and then comes out this side. So it comes out behind here and then runs up this piece of wood, and we've got to continue that along there, hide it. So that's the sort of thing. It's hidden. It doesn't look like it's a switch, and you can't see the switch and you can't see the wiring. Yeah, and we did the same here, if you remember. What we did, we put the switch inside, we put a scaffolding tube through the wall and the switch, so you can't see the switch, you can't see the wiring to the switch, but that's what you wanted, the switch. And in this case, the little cover just sits over it, and you wouldn't know it's there because you can't see the switch and you can't see the wiring to the switch or anything, can you? So we want to follow that thing. It's okay making something, but you've got to hide it as well, haven't you? And I'm quite keen on that idea, you know. I'm quite keen on, hold on a minute, putting a switch in a piece of scaffolding tube as we did there in the middle. So the switch would be here, and then the fixing bolt would either be on top or sitting here. And then you get this, you'd fit it on your bolt and it would sit there. And of course that would be probably more flush to the surface or even sticking out, it doesn't really matter. Let's just see what that looked like from the front. If the whole thing is concealed. Yeah, with this one, it would be on the face of it, wouldn't it? But if you painted that the same colour, you wouldn't really know, would you? Would you really know? Oh, whoops. If that was there, would you really know there's a switch behind there? In where we're going to put it, because also you've got to take into account, hold on, that's on a big scaffolding tube. You've got to also take into account of where you're going to put it, what's it going to look like when it's in place, and what are you going to do with it. Well, I was wondering if we use the idea of the scaffolding tube with the switch in it, and we could use a clamp like this. We could almost have it here, couldn't we? We could have that sitting there, on there, looking like a hook. Obviously there'd be a cap over this welded, and there'd be a switch in there, and then the switch would be hidden and the wiring would be hidden, because the wiring would go down the tube to the other end, wouldn't it? So I do quite like that idea. But would we get away with welding a bolt on the top of there, clipping this on, putting that on? Or would this not be in the right position because of the size of the switch? That hole has to be in the middle. Hold on. Because of the size of the switch, that hole has to be pretty much smack on in the middle, which is which could be difficult. Yeah, which could be difficult. So, and then, so I think we might get away with it, you know. Hold on a minute. This nut sitting on there, weld the nut there, hook the cow's head on. In here would be the switch. You wouldn't see the switch, you wouldn't see the back of the switch, and you wouldn't see where the wiring goes. Oh, that's a strong contender, do you think? Or end up, we're going to have to weld a nut here because we want that a bit lower. I think it's going to be like that, you know. And the nut's going to have to be there, looking at it. In case it's trial and error, isn't it? Just a case of trial and error. Looking at where that's going to go. Let's get a tube and let's play. Oh, instead of using the scaffolding tube, I wonder if we could use this box spanner that we got the other day. Look at that. Oh, Oh yeah, that would fit on there nicely, wouldn't it? And we've got a place to put a nut underneath it. Let's see if the switch fits. The switch fits in there okay. Wow, I wonder. Yeah, we could manipulate a space or a washer on there, couldn't we? And weld and cut and bodge that into there, couldn't we? Yeah. I wonder, maybe we'll use this box spanner. I wonder. It goes big to small. Let's see if we can get a... Ooh. That looks okay, doesn't it? What are we going to do? Because we can always hide that down a tube. We can put a rubber hose on the back of it if we want it to disappear somewhere. That looks a better candidate to work with, doesn't it? Where would we put the nut? How would that fall? See, there's plenty of room. If the switch is there, say, in the middle, we've got enough room to mount a nut on the top here. The bolts could be sitting on the top, couldn't it? And that would clip onto it like that. So we weld a bolt head here, or a nut really. We'll put a nut on here so we've got the adjustment in and out, because that's not straight. That's that head comes forward a bit. There is a gap here. By the time we cut a hole in there and bodge it, I think we're going to use these box spanners that we got the other day. Nut on the top of there, clip that on there. The switch will be hidden here via a washer. I think that might be, and we could sort of a notch. The only trouble I've got that is it might be top heavy. It might twist on its own. It's okay when you've got something on it. When you take the thing off, will it rotate? Because it is top heavy. But this is going to be quite high, this hole here, isn't it? Yeah, there's a good depth down there to be had. And that's got to go in quite deep. Oh, well, we put a thread. Even if you have to weld, then yeah, we'll put a nut. We'll weld a nut on top of here. Let's drill the hole, make the wedge, make the approach. Make this clip on here first. Mark out where we want the switch to land. It is a bit of a funny, the switch can't go in directly behind. So it looks like on will be off and off will be on. That's not a problem, is it? See, going down it touches. But when you switch it up, it misses. So yeah, and I do like these switches. It's got to be this switch. I do like the click and the positivity of the switch. I think we found our way, you know, because that's what you have to do. You just have to mess and look and think and listen, and why wouldn't that work? Why would that would work? And if we did do it that way and we decide to put it on a plaque, all we have to do is drill a hole in the back of the plaque and this would stick out the back of the plaque somewhere. But I don't think we've got a wall to put it on as a plaque. I think we've got to we might even have to cut this and stick it inside the tube, thin this out maybe. How does this fit on a scaffolding tube? Oh, how does this fit on a scaffolding tube? Let's go and have a look. It's a bit... yeah, a bit big, but that's fixable. That's fixable because all we'll do is cut slots in it and bring it together as a one. Yeah, we're going to use, remember we picked these up just the other day and we knew we'd picked them up for a reason. We picked up these 3 big box spanners, so I think that's what we're going to do. We'll clean up this box spanner, check that there's no name and there's no broad arrow. We don't want to be doing that mistake again, do we? Do you remember? We did. Where is it? Where is it? We used this box spanner as a handle, didn't we? And then we discovered it had a date, a broad arrow on it. But by that time we'd already committed to turn it into a screwdriver handle. So, yeah, broad arrow and a marking. Wow. And now it's a screwdriver handle. So we won't make that mistake again, will we? Beast here. Look at that. Look at the thickness. Look how much. Oh, look at that one. That's okay. But that's blowholey. This, look at the thickness, the gauge of this one. Wow. Compared to the gauge of that one, we're going to be able to burn our way through this, not make any holes, are we? But it looks a bit bigger, but instead of a washer, we could put just a plate in here and then put the hole for the switch wherever we want it to go. So it's a little bit bigger, a little bit better. Or is it better hidden? Look, we could do that. But does that look obvious? Quite like that. If we could get that to work like that, look. In an even space there. Or do we prefer this one, which is close to the edge, look. What do you think? Looks better? Or does it matter? Yeah, let's see, and then the bolt on the top will sit there slightly higher, which is good because it brings it lower. The switch is about there, isn't it? Yeah, I think this is the one. Either will do, really. It depends on how much leeway we've got in the switch. Ooh. Got to be quite accurate with that. We've not got much room to play with. Is there a better? Is this better? Let's have a look. Ooh, a little bit more room. A little bit more space to get it wrong, as you might say. It's actually going to be this way, isn't it? That's even better. Switch is going to be that way. To be fair, let's try this that way. Try this that way. Oh, there's plenty. We've got enough room for error there, haven't we? It's going to have to be slightly offset hole, isn't it? The hole's going to be slightly off center, I think. Oh, maybe not. That's sort of the middle, isn't it? Maybe not. That might. Yeah, that's definitely off center, but if we do there. Oh, that might do, you know. Right, less talking, more doing. Let's use this one.